Hello, this is Dale Matthews. Welcome to the Dale and Mike Show. I'm the Dale part. Here's the Mike part.
Hey, Dale. I see we're going to talk about my favorite subject tonight.
Delusion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not a very funny program tonight because these delusions that are in the minds of our local politicians they're so pervasive. They're so caustic. A lot of other descriptive words fit here, that it's hard to deal with them sometimes. But what we're going to start with is letters to the editor. Mike and I are going to tell you what they say, so you don't have to buy the Courier. We could tell you a little bit about one of the letters to the editor in the Daily Courier from Bill Kangas today. Bill has suggested that he's got some solutions for some of the law enforcement problems in the area, which would be combining the city police together with the county police, and it would save a lot of money. Well, the city is not going to choose Bill Kangas to be one of the no, because
not only that,
that's a little loud.
You're going to have major infighting from those people when it comes to, the police. They're not going to want to start mingling their funds with the sheriff there. They're not going to want to do it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, because it probably is a good idea. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, Bill's an okay guy, in my opinion, and the staff is simply not going to suggest somebody like Bill Kangas to be one of the replacement counselors. There's going to be two. They're not going to suggest him, and the staff is going to be actually picking these people, and then the mayor and the city council are going to be rubber stamping this. Why would I say rubber stamping? Well, wait till we play a couple more of these excerpts. These things are awful. They've learned no lessons at all. It doesn't look like anybody on the city council has learned a single lesson. You'll see, we've talked about them. We're going to play them for you in the glory of high definition. But first, Mike and I are going to share with you a letter to the editor that was in yesterday's Courier. And Mike's going to kick it off. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. And this is Bob Anderson wrote this to the Courier. The sales tax gets defeated 78% to 22%. And in the Wednesday paper, Daily Courier editor Kevin Whittison writes, still such an effort should not be held against the city council that sent it to the ballot.
Really?
Well, they were perfectly willing to hold the hit against the city council here a couple of months ago.
Yeah, boy. So what was it that Kevin Whittison actually said? So we looked back on November 4th, which was a week before Bob Anderson's letter yesterday. And what Kevin Whittison said, the short version of what he said is, it came as no surprise that a city sales tax proposal was defeated by voters on Tuesday. Still, such an effort should not be held against the city council that sent it to the ballot. The council was merely responding to the desires of its constituents for adequate public safety services in a county where such services are lacking. In the past 4 years, there have been 4 countywide efforts at property tax increases to fund public safety. Mike, why is it the Courier keeps saying there's 4 times in 4 years when it's 9 times in 10 years?
Yeah. Well, because precisely those two things give two different impressions. And listen, I'm not in total disagreement with what he's saying here, that there has been this spoken need. People have said, it's horrible here. It's so terribly unsafe. We need public safety funding. And so, listen, if you say that, if anybody in the public comes and makes a big stink about that, you know that your local government only has one answer for that. That's more taxes. The form of the tax may vary, but taxes is the only answer they have. So, but the thing that does leave a big impression is almost anybody could have told you this thing was going to go down in flames. I had my doubts because of what the people in the city had done before. And I think that those doubts put on by the city people voting for the levy every time is what launched this thing.
Well, also they had these town hall meetings where people came in, and it was like 130,000 to one. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was not like there was any guesswork that needs to be done. The Chamber of Commerce was against it. Evangel Bookstore they don't do that. They put a thing in their window. Almost all of and in order to counter this, the mayor ends up saying, well, if it's a disaster, we'll keep it going for a year or two more. Really? This is delusional thinking. Well, Bob Anderson, Mike is going to continue. Bob Anderson, on his November 11th letter, continues, because we interrupted just to tell you what it was that Kevin Whittison had said. Bob Anderson says...
Right. It ends by him saying that, still such an effort should not be held against the city council. He's quoting Kevin Whittison. And then he says, I disagree. First, it demonstrates the council is totally out of touch with 78% of the people. Second, putting forward a destructive idea is far worse than putting forward nothing. I agree with that. If your house has a mouse problem, would Whittison commend someone who suggests burning it down? That's awesome. The sales tax would have killed local businesses. Also in the Wednesday paper from Council President Dan DeYoung, I knew a sales tax was unpopular, but not that unpopular. Really? All DeYoung had to do was listen to the huge number of people who pleaded with the council not to put it on the ballot. Yeah, amen. I don't think I saw a single member of the public tell the council to vote yes. DeYoung also said, we're doing okay in Grants Pass. The problem really is in the county. It would have been nice to hear him say that back in July before the whole town was engulfed in unnecessary uproar. Also, DeYoung and Councilor Roy Lindsay didn't just send it to the ballot. They wrote letters in the newspaper and articles in the voters pamphlet wholeheartedly supporting an idea that 78% of their constituents thought was terrible. Sorry, but praising counselors like these doesn't sit right with me. Bob Anderson, Grants Pass.
Yeah. Well, we did try to tell them.
Well,
we tried again and again and again. And what's happening now is that the council, in their protected time at the end, boy, this is really revealing, and we're happy to bring you these videos, not because we're happy with the content, but they're patting each other on the back. They're saying how proud they are of each other, that the people wanted this. The people wanted this.
Yeah, you know what? And listen, we wouldn't be doing this right now if there had been some humility in some of these little protected time speeches by these guys. If there had been humility, but if they would have come in there and said, boy, I got that totally wrong. I apologize. Clearly, I was thinking along one line and the people were thinking along a totally different line. And they tried to tell me and I just didn't pay any attention. I'm sorry. I will try to do whatever I can to change. But since they didn't do that, you can pretty well count on they're going to continue to, swim in the river denial.
Wait, what's strange, there's floating face down in denial. What's strange about this too is that who are they talking to? They're patting each other on the back. They're talking about what a wonderful job that they've done. They're grinning from ear to ear. They're feeling triumphant about what? When you've got an 80% vote that says no, you did this wrong, and we told you did it wrong. Why are they feeling self-congratulatory? No matter what it was about.
But wait a minute. It's not like we haven't seen this form of mental illness before. This delusion we saw take place in the commissioners have when things have come down the pike that prove them wrong. They start telling each other what a great job they're doing, and you know what, it wasn't our fault. Blah blah blah. This is standard operating procedure.
Apparently. And isn't it interesting that followed one of those times followed an 80% no vote on the junk ordinances, and the people really don't care. The people really don't care. What are you saying?
Yeah.
This is crazy talk. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. Obviously, and Mike is right. A little bit of humility would be nice to say, I think we were wrong about that, guys. No, they're not saying that. They're not saying that at all. As a matter of fact, you heard last night, we could play it again tonight. We'll play it another night. Dan DeYoung, I like Dan DeYoung, but he's saying, the people are kind of, I'm paraphrasing, the people are kind of stupid for not, what? Yeah, we tried to tell them, and Roy Lindsay is fully in it, man. I mean, he's swimming at the bottom of the ocean of Kool-Aid. Well, I tried to tell somebody, and, he just said, no new taxes. I don't want to think about it. I'm not going to say, what about the children? No new taxes, no new taxes. Roy, that's completely made up. Nobody believes you when you tell this story, and you're the hero, but you're a lunkhead for telling us this story. It's so obviously completely made up. Tell me why I'm wrong, Mike.
Well, you're wrong because 1, 2, 3. No, I think, listen, they shouldn't have gone down this road, and they could avoid a lot of this. But now, since they have no humility and they're doubling down and they're saying, boy, aren't people stupid for not voting for this? And, things of that nature, you're bringing this criticism on, and we're sort of, compelled / obligated to dish it out because, who else is going to do it? And it needs doing. And thank you, Bob Anderson, whoever you are. That was well said.
Yeah, I've met this guy. He seems like a pretty common sense guy. And sorry, Bob, that's all it takes these days is a little common sense. I hear somebody talking common sense. I said, please come to the weekly business session. Go to a city council meeting. Just get up and say whatever's on your mind. We could use some common sense there. That's what this is. For example, okay, so we're faced with Art Harvey leaving the county employee. Look, 3 goals, just 3. All the others will fall in place one way or another. Like, who cares who the assessor is? There are reasons to care. But number 1, 1 commissioner. Number 2, the 2nd commissioner. And number 3, really crowding up toward the others, the county clerk. For a whole bunch of reasons. And if you ever watch this show, you know them by heart. So criticizing people and saying that the people are wrong was his specialty. He was the one that said, those of us who criticize government are morons. Why is this person elected to anything? That we're morons? Not just me, not just Mike, he might deserve it, but all these the people that criticize government are morons? Okay, so here's a second letter to the editor. This one I get the privilege of reading. I will try not to be sarcastic because this one praises Art Harvey to heaven. Listen to this. The title of it, given by Kevin Whittison, because he writes the titles, no matter what you write. Harvey, a gold standard of elected leadership. Here's the letter. Try to figure out, before I get to the end, who wrote the letter. Art Harvey's departure from Josephine County's government is a huge loss for our community. Walter Cronkite used to sign off from his evening newscast with the tagline, "That's the way it is." Across the county, whether or not people agreed with the implications of what Cronkite reported, Americans at least knew the facts. Here in Josephine County, on the fundamental topics of ballot results and property ownership, we have enjoyed the same luxury. We have been extraordinarily privileged to have Art Harvey as our clerk. Now, Mike, just a little break here. Ballot results?
Well, I personally, I don't have any anecdotes that I can tell you about Art Harvey giving the wrong results because people voted, and many times I know that these tax levies go against everything that guy probably wants, more funding for government. However, we do know that there was There was
irregularities.
Yeah, there was some irregularities in both of these recall situations. And, I mean, the pretty glaring as well. In other words, he injected himself into it. He was going to make a call on something that was clearly, something that you'd make a call on the basis of law. He made on opinion. He allowed signatures for Sandy Casanelli's recall to be verified, even though the collector of said signatures never signed the back of the document like they're supposed to.
646 times.
Yeah, so that's a substantial number of signatures, and unquestionably would invalidate that entire recall.
Now, even if someone said, well, you signed the first one and just put ditto on 645 of them, but that one wasn't signed either. None of them.
You wouldn't have got away with that if you were talking about Cheryl Walker's recall now, would you?
No.
Yeah.
And then there was the thing about people who weren't registered who I thought for sure I was registered, but they weren't. Yeah. And if that was on the up and up, why is it that we received postcards afterwards saying, oh, by the way, afterwards, don't forget you have to sign because maybe you're not registered. Mm-hmm. Really? That's a little bit late, Art. What about measuring the hallway? That ridiculous story. You know that story.
Well, of course. I mean, the part that just blows that out the window is that you can't even do that in the same building. And
so it doesn't matter what you.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was 600 feet inside the building. You're still in the building.
Right. And then there's the matter of when Art Harvey got up and he said at a weekly business session, well, I don't even remember what the issue was. And I can look it up and we can play the video for you. But I cannot do this that they're asking me to do because state law says I can't. And I checked with the election headquarters and they say, absolutely sorry, I can't do it. So guess what? They never think you're going to do this. I called the election headquarters and I said, do you mind if I record you? And they said, no, go right ahead. I said, here's what he said. Is that true? No. Wait a minute. No, he did say this. No. And I said, well, can he do it? Sure, he can do it. Yeah, but he said he can't. Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We played the tape for you.
So, in reality, the clerk's job is not a hard one. Okay?
No, but you have to be honest.
You have to be honest. I mean, the core of it is honesty. We have to trust that not only are the elections going to come out as they have been intended by the voters, but in a situation like this recall, you're not going to inject your own politics or opinion or what your druthers are into it. You have a responsibility, and those responsibilities are no doubt enumerated and very clear. And he has been shown to be dishonest in that respect. I don't know who.
A last thing about this too is, let's suppose that you, one of our viewers, or all of you, are the county clerk. Okay. Now, when it comes up, and it's come up twice now, at least twice, maybe 3 times, twice at least, where he was going to be counting his own votes. Well, of course, any common sense person would say, because of the unusual circumstances here, we will be inviting in a special person. I won't be even in the room, and that person will be counting my votes. Yes, there's a little bit of extra cost, but I want to be absolutely sure that everybody knows it's on the up and up. Of course you would do that.
Makes sense.
That hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Why even risk the question about it? Because honest people want to be shown to be honest, proven to be honest, no question that they're honest. That's not the case here. And I would add in once again that he said those of us who question government, it's not just me. Those of us who question government, you're watching the show, are morons.
Yeah, and you know what? Anytime somebody says that, I immediately disqualify them. Listen, the whole point, the point of America is to question government and to have as little of it as possible. Boy, have we gone astray from that one.
Even if you get accused of being a Satan worshiper?
Yes, we should always question always question government. We are the government. See, that's the difference. That's where, listen, I'm totally fine now with Mark Gowen's speech, but he just got it wrong, because we're the government, and
right. We're the authority.
We're the authorities here. So I'm revising my statement, and he needs to figure out who the government is.
That's right. Right. Okay. Going on with this letter to the editor. Harvey has for 7 years been the gold standard of elected leadership. All elected leadership, I guess, is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. I have worked at the state capitol and the county courthouse. Narrows it down. Politics always fuel passion. Thus, barely a day, listen to this now, thus barely a day has passed when I haven't paused to consider, what would Art Harvey do?
Wow. Now, is that Mrs. Art Harvey that wrote that?
Now, let's just think about this for a second. I've heard people say, I lost my child. I lost my husband in a war. I lost my grandmother. Hardly a day goes by when I don't think about my grandmother. I could believe that.
Yes.
This person says, barely a day has passed when I haven't paused in the work to consider, what would Art Harvey do?
Lord. Are we talking like Pat Bath here or something?
What an incredible statement. Really? There's someone who thinks almost every day, what would Art Harvey do?
Well, not what would Jesus do, but what would Art Harvey do? Oh, yes, here I am. This person has slapped me in the face. Should I turn the other cheek, or should I think about what Art Harvey would do in this situation? Oh, I know. Falsify the documents.
Politics always fuel passion. Thus, barely a day has passed when I haven't paused to consider, what would Art Harvey do? Because, of course, politics has never fueled his passion. All right, now ready for the answer? What would he do? The answer is that he would stay above the political fray.
Ooh.
He would not allow personal bias to drive his decisions.
Ooh.
He would consider every citizen's input carefully. These must be the moronic citizens, and fairly, regardless of the citizens' external clout.
Of course, he wouldn't ever hear from them, because they're supposed to shut up and not say anything to government, because that would be questioning it.
He would be the ultimate conveyor of reality.
Oh, wow. What? I have to know who this is.
Oh, you're going to find out. You just wait. 2 more sentences. He would be the ultimate conveyor of reality. Now,
wow.
This person
you would say that about God.
This reminds me of, I know I'm taking an extra moment here. It reminds me of Larry West and his infamous letter to the editor praising the Daily Courier as the best newspaper in the world. This goes above that now. Art Harvey would be the ultimate conveyor of reality. Every level of government requires someone to whom the citizens can turn at any moment and say, Art, would you hand me that election ballot, please? And he ignores it. No, that's not what he says. Every level of government requires someone to whom the citizens can turn at any moment and say, just tell us what's going on. Art Harvey has achieved that status.
All right.
Now, I was there when Sandy Casanelli said, Art, none of these are signed. And his answer was, you can just appeal it to the state. That was telling her what's going on.
Yeah, right. Well, here's what's going on.
Now, wait for it. This is perfect. He should be emulated throughout the government. I have learned a lot from observing and working with him. Thus, I will simply and finally say, thank you, Art. Now, that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Wally Hicks, Josephine County Legal Counsel.
Wow. Wally Hicks. Wally Hicks, Art Harvey, the ultimate conveyor of reality. Wow.
And he's honest. He's law abiding, of course. All these questions about obeying the law, and Wally Hicks is your elected legal counsel. Oh no, there's no controversy surrounding. He's well known as the gold standard.
Yeah, he's the ultimate conveyor of legality.
Wally Hicks.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For those of us who are still hanging on to a shred of saying, boy, we lobbied for Wally Hicks, we voted for Wally Hicks, we promoted Wally Hicks, this guy's going to help clean up the county. He's not going to sit in on illegal meetings with the commissioners. Why? He's going to set them straight. He's the kind of person, I thought, that if they started to do something illegal, he would stand up and say, you know what, you're doing something illegal. I've warned you in writing and in person. I cannot attend this meeting. We need somebody willing to do that. Seems like a pretty radical act, but it would sure make a difference. Wally Hicks believes that Art Harvey is not only the ultimate conveyor of reality, is that this guy is above the political fray and has never allowed such things to get in the way. Where's the controversy? Just the fact that we have it on tape, that means nothing. Just the fact that we have 646 documents to say Art Harvey's full of it, that means nothing. He has the official imprimatur recommendation from Wally Hicks, the Josephine County Legal Counsel.
Now, you know what, though? I got to tell you, this is one thing that I learned from these meetings that we had with Wally, is that Wally's barometer doesn't swing with right and wrong. Wally's barometer swings with legality. Now, is there any kind of legal loophole that Art could, jump onto having to do with these signature thing? Can you accept a bunch of signatures if they're not signed if you want to?
Well, it just says at the bottom of the form, you must do this under penalty of law. I'm paraphrasing. It might say under law penalty, but you were required to do so or it's invalid.
Right.
Now, why would Wally Hicks then, after looking at that, one would only hope that he'd, if not look at it, at least listen to the people who are saying this and maybe page through like he did with us and say, oh, look, this is what it says. And look, this is what it says in the document.
Happened. You're assuming that happened.
We told him. And what, is he not going to look? Why would he not look? Because he doesn't want to know.
Because ignorance is bliss.
Because you're going to write a letter to the editor of the Daily Courier talking about what a wonderful guy he is without doing your due diligence?
Okay.
Remember when we signed a contract with this outfit where the state says they're pulling their license because they were spraying their own people?
Mm.
Now, according to the county.
Are you suggesting Wally's spraying his own people?
No, he's spraying us, but in a different way. No. According to the county, there's no way that they can check to see what that company's record is. Now, you believe that? Okay, that's what they said. If that's the case, and I talked to the head of forestry about this, and he said, there's no way we can tell. How did they do their due diligence? How did Wally Hicks do his due diligence? That's a little bit off, but we're talking about due diligence here. You can't do it if it's not available. If you're not going to look at the documents and say, well, I know it says under penalty of law, but that doesn't mean anything, really. So you could step back and say, I'm legal counsel. I think I don't want to take any stand on this. That's wimpy. But it's possible that you don't want to do that so nobody gets in trouble, including yourself. So instead, you write a glowing letter how he is the ultimate gold standard of all elected officials. And if only everybody in the entire government was like Art Harvey, we could all rest at night? Really? No. He's at the bottom of that ocean of Kool-Aid right along with, pick your choice of names. Now, I don't want to goof up this thing about Art Harvey leaving. I'm excited because this is now going to be 3 people who were part of the problem that are going. Now we've got a 4th one. Okay, so with that happiness, we're going to go a little bit more into delusion from the city councilors. Here is, you saw a couple of things that we put up about Dan DeYoung. Again, I like Dan, but he's way off base on this. And Dan was followed. Just watch this first videotape and you'll see what I mean. This is one where you heard it alluded to, but here's Dan saying it in his own words. Go ahead, Mike.
We're proud of the fact that the city council brought an alternative to the community, put it on the ballot. We aren't trying to sneak it behind anybody's back. Brought it right out in the light of day and called it a sales tax, just like it is.
And so they're focusing on the most undesirable one, or the one that gets the headlines, and that's sales tax. Sales tax is no more important to this than the elimination of the levy and the utility fee.
Would have called it anything else, they'd have said, see, you're trying to hide it. So my hat comes off once again to the city council. I know you've been, kind of, today was kind of a bad day myself. I reported to Stratton Creek and spent my day in the mountains, collecting my own thoughts, came back here with a big grin on my face, ready to attack it again. So thank you, Mayor, for indulging me there for a minute. I just wanted to express my thoughts on that.
I have a feeling we all have some thoughts on that.
Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
And 80% of us have thoughts that are counter to yours.
So all you need to do is go way to the mountains and you come back and you're grinning.
You're ready to attack it again.
I'm proud of what we did and ignoring the will of the people. Really? You're proud of it? You're proud of it. Okay, it'd be another thing if I stood up for, but we're all telling you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. No, like you said last night, the people were, kind of stupid, and it's not exact words he used, but that was the result of it. Roy Lindsay absolutely feels that that's the case. They're congratulating each other. This is at the end where you never get to hear any of this because everybody's gone home, and they're buoying each other up. They're patting each other, and well, we really did a good job on that one. We're triumphant. You are?
If that was such a good thing, does that mean that's what we should be expecting from them again in the near future? Or certainly
sound like he said,
thinking in that vein that, what we did was right. We just did, the people just weren't smart enough to go for it. So, maybe what we should do, listen, I've got an idea for you counselors. Clearly, the people of the city are stupid. They're so stupid that for their own good, you need to just enact this sales tax right now, unilaterally. Just do it. And you know what? The rest of the people in the city, they will thank you. They will thank you later. But they're too stupid to know that it's the right thing now. So just impose it on them. Just do that, okay? Why don't you do that?
Right. Well, you said that with such conviction. You almost had me convinced. Yeah.
But listen, if they believe in it so much, why don't they just ram it down our throats?
Because they're not going to say that during the regular meeting. They're saving that for the end when they're just talking to each other during their protected time. They're not going to.
Yeah, perhaps that's the part where it wouldn't be. What did he say? He said it wouldn't have been politically correct.
That's what the lawyer said. That's what Bartholomew said.
Yeah, he didn't say politically correct. He said politically advantageous or expedient or something along those lines. Yeah. Well, he's right.
I thought it was very interesting. This is why I inserted that little clip from the courtroom. The one where Roy Lindsay said it never happened. So you didn't see that, anybody. This is according to the truth, according to Roy Lindsay, and now the ultimate purveyor of all truth, Art Harvey. In the opinion of Wally Hicks, our county legal counsel that we elected, what were we doing?
Never would have guessed that. Well, listen, God, I hate this.
Yeah.
Because as I've said a number of times, I want to like Wally.
Me too.
Wally is a likable guy.
He is that. Yes.
But, I was caught a few times like, wow, am I to accept his interpretation of the charter, or am I just going to continue to think, I don't think Wally would have ever written this charter. The way he talks about the charter, there's no way he ever would have written it. So I have to go to the people who did write it and interpret what their intention was in putting those things in the document. And I think I pretty well have that figured out. And I don't think Wally agrees with it. And that's the basis of, I mean.
Well, did he or did he not? I'm going to have to paraphrase again, but did he or did he not say that, according to him, that the charter actually requires the commissioners to do nothing on a variety of topics where the citizens are saying, hey, why don't you stand up for the miners? Why don't you say something about this timber money? How come you aren't more supportive of the Second Amendment? And Wally's interpretation was, the charter really requires them to do nothing.
Yes, and to underpin that point, he went to the Declaration of Independence, he went to
the Bill of Rights. You cannot force them to testify.
No.
Wasn't that it?
No, he stated, it says Congress shall make no law. I think it was. Gosh, I'm trying to think of where is this written?
I should look it up.
I should know my Constitution better. But Congress shall make no law abridging. I think it's like First Amendment stuff. You
cannot be compelled to testify.
No. It was Congress shall make no law. Now I remember this very distinctly. And he said that that's a command. Congress shall make no law. Oh. It's demanding inaction, is what he said.
Yes,
and I thought, wow, I'm blown away by that. And so he believes this charter right here. Everybody should have a charter nearby that they can grab right next to their Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
Only good to shield you from the rain.
Yes, and yeah, wow.
All the citizens were asking in those cases, and the question that we asked is, can you write a letter of support saying, listen, Salem or DC, we'd like you to consider what the people here are saying, because I know it's symbolic, but can they write a symbolic letter? Why would they avoid writing a symbolic letter? No, he was saying they can't. They can't.
Okay.
They can't.
First
charter
Amendment
insists that they can't.
First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. See, it commands inaction. And so he said that when the charter says the intent of these charter amendments is to provide the citizens of Josephine County with local protection of one of their inalienable rights, that doesn't mean anything. This demands that they don't interfere in that at all.
That's your government talking. That's not an elected official that we wanted.
Anybody, it's funny because I did a little video. I asked somebody, I needed to get somebody who was tech savvy enough to be able to meet me on the program and respond to it. And Vika Nicodian was immediately available. And I asked him, I go, I'm going to play this for you. You tell me what you think this means. And then I, read to him any one of these. There are little intent clauses that are at the beginning of each one of these sections, amendments to our own charter. And it's pretty clear to him, and I think pretty clear to most people, that when you say that the intent of this charter amendment is to provide citizens of Josephine County with local protection of one of their inalienable rights as originally defined by our founding fathers in the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. What does that mean? There's nothing cryptic there. And so this was the beginning of my doubt about, getting justice out of Wally Hicks. And
I'm not suggesting, and we haven't suggested, that the commissioners, the three of them standing side by side, imagine Cheryl Walker doing this with 30-06s, and they're saying, all right, federal government, no. This was writing a letter of support, a symbolic letter of support. Well, we're prohibited by law from doing. No, you're not. No, you're prohibited by your imagination. You're prohibited by the fact that Simon Harris wants another position in government.
They can say anything that they want in there. They can.
Well, we can't too, except I can't.
Yes.
Now that I provided,
yes, you could. You could run around in there like they always accuse you. Why don't you run around in there and grab some chairs and gnaw on them and stuff like that? At least then you'll be guilty of what they claim you're guilty
of. Is Sandy and I turned state's evidence that finally got them in trouble. Okay, they're not happy about that, and I didn't say anything bad. I didn't use bad words. Wasn't yelling. I wasn't out of turn, but I said, dramatically, I think, I intended to, that we're going to have to move along without you. And this was the reason that both Keith Eck and now Cheryl Walker have said, well, you said you don't need us. You're going to, you're not going to, not that I don't recognize them, because I didn't say that. Obviously, I still show up at those meetings with a tie. I recognize the decorum of the room, if not the occupants of those seats. And but they said, since you're not going to follow us, since you're going to make your own way, you can't speak anymore. I am also a candidate to replace one of them. Now, do you think that that's right for them to do that?
No, I don't think it's right at all. Let me just say that turning state's evidence is probably not the right phrase to use.
Probably not, no.
Because the definition, essentially, of turning state's evidence is to turn state's evidence is for an accused or convicted criminal to testify as a witness for the state against his associates or accomplices. Right. You did not turn state's evidence.
And what they did is not technically a crime, so that you can't call them organized crime. You might call them disorganized crime, right? They're not going to spend any time in jail. There's not going to be any penalty except from us, all of us in this audience. This episode of our show, or this portion of our newscast, is and commentary. We can do that. It's allowed. My mother told me I could. Is about delusions. Not delusions necessarily on our part, but those in government, and then pointing out, and then what do you think the effect is that when someone who hasn't screamed anything, that hasn't spoken out of turn, except for the occasional, I hear you mumbling over there. Yeah, well, I don't think so, because I wasn't saying anything. Someone that hasn't used bad words, as Dennis Weber said, why, expletives or no, they're not. No, they're not. And so I didn't do any of those things, yet I'm the one of the two people that turned them in. And now they don't want to let me speak at all. Now, this is strange for me because it's about me. But, it's me now. It's probably going to be Sandy next. Could be Mike next. It might be you. Or you just won't show up because there's going to be retribution for turning in evidence that they've been breaking the law. Retribution. Is that the kind of government that you want?
Yeah. I think that's what's happening here too. I think this is retaliation.
I announced several times that I am a candidate. I am going to be a candidate to replace one of those. It's a year away. I mean, please. But they don't like that. And so here, Mike and I are at the tip of the spear. You already know that. Who else would it be, right? Okay, go ahead and name the person you could send it to, the address that Mike's going to put on the screen. And you can say, well, yeah, you're at the tip of this. So what have they done now? They've decided they don't want to hear from me at all. I've not done anything wrong. Yeah. But they will not tolerate me speaking. I'm a candidate, and they won't let me speak.
Well, that's because you turned your back on them.
You know what? We all need to do that. Yep. They had people that were standing up in the audience when the Oath Keepers speak. Didn't throw them out. Didn't say no more Oath Keepers from now on. We've had people that have gotten up and yelled out expletives in the far past, not recently. People who just couldn't handle the stress. They stopped going to the meetings, but they were yelling as they were walking out of the room. I never do that. I can't do that, even if I wanted to, and I don't. Because I know what it would mean. They would have cause. Now they have no cause at all. What do you think about that? Well, it's not me, so I don't care. Okay,